Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. I'm Tundu Abiola.
Good morning. Welcome back. I'm Veronica Adeka. Our next guest is Adetokunbo Mumuni, is a lawyer with close to 25 years experience in private practice and was appointed notary public by the Chief Justice of Nigeria. He is also an associate member of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators of Nigeria, and from July 2004 till this moment has been the Executive Director of Human Rights Watchdog and Advocacy Group Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP. Here to talk about his group's latest petition to the United Nations against the federal government of Nigeria over the continuing closure of universities in Nigeria. Let's welcome him into the morning show. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here.
Yes, we've had you on the show before,
Yes,
so,
yes.
like I said, you're always one who's passionate about what it is that you want to talk about. So we want to get right into it. Now, among all the issues on the front burner at the moment, you chose to drag the federal government to the United Nations on this issue. Why? Why is this?
You see, we have come to realize that when issues arises within the four corners of a nation,
Yes.
and it doesn't get resolved immediately, another way of getting the thing resolved is to internationalize the issue.
So bring light to it,
Yes,
shine bright light on
so
it.
that agencies in the world that are responsible for such issue can come to bring their influence to bear on the government, so that things will change. That's precisely what we seek to do by the petition we sent to two special rapporteurs of the United Nations on the matter.
But you've gone down this route before without achieving closure on the issue or having it enforced by Nigerian authorities. Why are you exploring the same avenue again?
You see, as a matter of fact, when issues linger for so long, by the time we introduce international angle, things start changing. You realize that negotiations was going on between the ASU people and the federal government people, and it was as if there was a dead silence about it. As soon as we sent the petition, they went back to the negotiation table. And that to us is progress. It may not be substantial, but at the end of the day, it will have impact. That is what we have discovered.
Do you have a fallback strategy in case it does not have impact?
You see, we have this notion in Nigeria that socio-economic rights issues, of which education is a part, is not justiciable immediately, so that you can go to court. But we have different ways by which we address issues that we cannot litigate upon immediately. And that is part of the strategy that we intend to use if nothing happens as we have proposed.
So who should be in charge of enforcing the compliance to the United Nations? You're a lawyer.
Yes,
what do you say?
You see, in the international arena, there is no international policeman. But what we have discovered over time is that once a group within the United Nations comes to make a pronouncement on a domestic issue, it moves government better, especially in the sub-Saharan Africa, where we want to be seen as doing things in the best international practice. Yes.
Your organization has a focus on human rights monitoring.
Yes.
How would you assess the Buhari administration in terms of human rights and compliance with court orders in general?
Like you know, as I do, that there are a lot of question marks about the way the government reacts to court orders and the enforcement of fundamental human rights of Nigerians. That is no longer strange. The president, when he was giving an address, said, I think it was one of these national addresses that he gave, that when it comes to matters of human rights, it should be subject to national security and all those things. That is not encouraging a democracy. But we know that this government is not really up and doing in terms of the human rights of Nigerians, the obedience to court orders. We know that is what we have on our hands.
So if that's the case and that's how you feel, do you honestly think that this situation concerning human rights is going to get better, especially with the rampage and elections right around the corner?
And you see, why things will have to change will be due to the part Nigerians play in the matter. I have this feeling that the only reason why things will not change is if Nigerians say, let's leave it to them. Nigerians see the business as the business of government. The only reason why things will continue to worsen is because if people of well-meaning people are not putting mouth into the matter. But when people say this is what we want, since we are in the majority, the government will eventually bow. So
do you think that we are going in that right direction? Do you think as Nigeria as a whole, because you know you've been on before and we've had these conversations before, do you think we're going in the right direction?
Okay, let me remind you a bit of where we are coming from. We were in the military before 1999.
That's correct.
In the military regime, me getting here to come and attend to this would not be possible. I would have been picked up outside the gate.
Yes.
Or the station would, you understand what I'm saying? Now we got into democracy. Obasanjo did what he thought he did his best. Yaradua came. You see, things have started getting on better progressively.
Okay.
That is what I see. So what must happen is that Nigerians must continue to demand that we must be ruled according to the best practice of the world, of the democratic world. So if we don't relent, we'll make progress.
You're placing the onus firmly on the Nigerian public, but what about the role of civil society organizations? What do you think of the perception that they're not really doing as much as they ought to be? They're not rising to the challenges.
You see, the Nigerian public is a big basket. Civil organization is a part of the Nigerian public. The Nigerian citizens is a part of that Nigerian public. The media is a part of that Nigerian public. You understand? So that is the point we are making. The general group is the Nigerian public. Society is part of which we are doing our own little bit. The Nigerian media is doing seriously its own bit.
Yes.
I see that evidently. So if I say the Nigerian public, I'm not saying the citizen alone, because the civil society is a group of the citizens. It's a group comprising certain people within the polity. That's what I say. If we demand as part of the Nigerian public, we will get there.
Now, it was reported in the press that NANS went to meet the students' organization, had a meeting with President Buhari, and he asked them not to distract him with this issue of the strike, which NANS has now waded into, because he's trying to focus on his campaign and infrastructure and develop the country. What is your view of that comment?
You see, the problem that I have with that is that the overall running of the educational system in Nigeria is at risk now.
Yes.
And I don't see why the president will say that is not part of his mandate. That is not part of what he promised. He promised to do us better in all aspects of life. So to now say he will be distracted if now comes to talk about this issue of strike, how serious can the government be?
And what about the red flag that the INEC has raised? INEC has raised red flags regarding security and also the ASU strike. INEC is of the opinion that the ASU strike might interfere with the smooth delivery of a free, fair, and credible election. What is your view?
The truth of the matter is that since the previous man at INEC, Mahmoud Jega, came in, we have seen collaboration between the top hierarchy of ASU and the electoral body. And that was what led to the meeting held about last week, in which the ASU people said, no, we believe that we should continue to work with you in spite of the strike. Any of our members who wishes to collaborate to work with INEC on the electoral issues will be free. Because that would have been a serious problem if that opinion had not come into the public domain. But I say, if the university education is not functioning, I believe that the entire Nigeria will not function properly. So it's a no-brainer for the president to say education or the ASU strike is a distraction if it's called into attention to look into it.
Now, I know that previously before, the whole point was that for the Nigerian government to reach an agreement with ASUU, and that obviously fell through. So in your opinion, what do you think that the government could have done to actually prevent it from getting to the point of where it is right now?
You see, I will, because I'm a student of history, I would like to draw us back a bit. It is not the first time. That ASUU will go on strike is not the first time. Buhari's problem. It has been part of us. Now let's ask ourselves, why is it that when the government signs an agreement, 2009 agreement, 2013, memorandum of understanding, why will the government sign an agreement when people that went into the agreement should know what they are doing before they sign it? You see, to me, it is just saying, it is irresponsible as a person, as a human being, to say you sign an agreement and you will renege from it. That to me, it's absolutely irresponsible. Now, so, and what are the issues ASUU are asking for? The people in ASUU are not asking particularly for what will benefit them. They are asking for what will benefit the system as a whole. Commit more money into infrastructural facilities in the university. Give us more money to go to organize training for ourselves, so that the product that we dish out to people will be better.
Especially since education is the grassroots of the country.
Exactly. So if you now say that is no longer important, then we should forget about government. You see, a government that's not able to provide for its people in terms of their socio-economic, educational needs, to me, is a band of armed robbers. It's not worth to be in government. So the point we are making is this: things must be done properly. The 2009 agreement must be looked into. The memorandum of understanding of 2013 must be looked into. Why has it become difficult for the government to fulfill what it has entered into? Because a government is a continuum. If Nigeria has money to collect from anybody, Nigerian government has money to collect from anybody, this government will be ready to claim it. Why will the government not ready to take responsibilities?
Why, indeed, because the negotiations were supposed to be a 4-week program. It lingered for 14 months before the strike occurred. But going back to the historical perspective that you took, we've had these strikes, whether internal or political strikes in our universities since the 1980s. Have they actually been successful? Is there another way that ASUU, NANS, other parties, other stakeholders can compel the government to take a closer look at their concerns?
You see, what I see is that a strike, to me, is a legitimate, the most legitimate way by which people get people to listen to their complaint. And
so we shouldn't look at it as a negative way?
Yes, it's not. Because it was a result of a strike that needs assessment in the universities were done, which led to the government setting up a body to look at specifically what the university needs. They came about with what they needed. So if we say strike is in the negative,
I never said strikes were in the negative. It's a constitutional right of the Nigerian to go on strike. I'm asking if they're effective. I never said it was negative.
No. You see, the strike in Nigeria had not been effective because whenever we hear of ASUU, we think about university strike. To me, that should not be the only thing that we should hear ASUU in connection with. So whatever must be done. For me, when you enter into an agreement, you have a bounding duty to comply with that agreement. And since the government is a party to those agreements or memorandum of understanding, they must be ready, able and willing to meet their agreement.
But in the event that they are not, and strikes have not proven effective in their long history, what other avenues can be explored by bodies like ASUU?
I think what the ASUU people should think about is, now that these strikes are not effective, could we look for other means, other ways by which our demands will be met other than strike? Because a lot of people think the ASUU strike is disruptive of the educational movement in Nigeria. I don't have that feeling. But since a lot of Nigerians are now suffering from it. For example, look at what we have now. What we now have is education that is provided as a disadvantage. People take their children to private universities now. It means the obligation that Nigeria signed under the International Covenant on Social and Economic Rights of the Nigeria signed it, is now not being realized because we now have set of people, people that are beholden to the public university and people that can afford private university. So it means, again, you have a disparity between the children of the poor and the children of the rich. Those that can afford it can take their children to private university.
Yes.
That means they continue to enjoy the benefit of higher education. Those that cannot afford it continue to be penalized and marginalized because of their circumstance of bad, because of poverty. That is not meeting Section 13(2)(c) of the International Conventions on Yes.
What are the remedies that you're seeking from the United Nations?
No. What we want is a pronouncement from these rapporteurs confirming first that they have to bring government and also to the negotiation table so that they would consider that this education right is a right, it's a public right. It is not as if it's a right just like that.
It's the right of the people.
Yes, it's the right of the people. And let the government see it as such.
Yes.
Let's also see it as such so that they will work together and give it to Nigerian people.
Yes. I want to know what your take is. UNESCO, the budget for UNESCO is usually 28% towards funding, towards 26%, 28% funding towards education. And the president did his bill, I think, proposed 7% or so. What is your take on it? We're not even closer to where we should be on the recommended number, and we're so far away. What do you think?
You see, I don't know what the young government progressively since we started implementing budget education, thinks about education. If they consider education as a very fundamental aspect of Nigerian life, it is a threshold that the United Nations suggested.
Yes.
It is not as if those that are making it educationally in the world assign 26%. They assign more than that.
Yes.
If they say we should assign 26% minimum,
that's at least a benchmark.
The benchmark.
That, yes.
So it is better that we see where we are going wrong. You see, and that is why we say this idea that all money has to be spent on security. To me, security is important, but those that are making progress in the world invest more in education. And that is the benchmark on which we should measure our progress, not in terms of security. So I say and I advocate that this 26% benchmark should be a minimum standard of financing education.
Mr. Mumuni, thank you very much indeed.
Definitely, thank you. It's always such a pleasure to have you on the show, and I'm sure we'll have you back again.
Thank you very much.
It's time now for a short break. When we return, the Director General of the Nigerian Association of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, NASIMA, Ambassador Ayola Olukani, will be joining us in the studio to discuss the 2019 budget and economic outlook for Nigeria. Stay with us.